Welcome to If This Then What, where we connect the dots and explore the big what ifs shaping our world. I'm Joshua Giles. That's Cydney Davis. Cydney, it's been 2 weeks, but since our last episode, but
Mhm.
this is episode 10.
10.
Friend, friend,
Wow.
did you ever think that we were going to make it this far?
I guess if we think
It's
about doing it one episode at a time,
one
hoped
episode at a time. That's
eventually.
how you get to 10. Oh man, I was hitting record for this episode and it was like name it and I was like, what episode are we? We had double
Mhm.
digits, Sydney.
That's wild.
Congratulations. We've been on the beat of AI. We've been like front lines telling the world how to think about the things happening.
All the things.
Uh, yeah. So congratulations to us.
Congrats,
Guys.
bud.
Man. So how you been? It's been so everybody, podcasts, the world, community, whoever you want to
I
be.
know people are
Um,
desperately wanting to know where the
we
hell
didn't
were
even
we?
tell anybody. We didn't do anything. Like we just disappeared for a couple of weeks. Um, no, so I was going to St. Louis for a week for work. Um, and I really thought about bringing my laptop and trying to do a recording there. And then the combination of my work was treating everybody that was flying in for a dinner, and it was like a group outing. And then the idea of trying to do like doing the hosting of this show on like a
Mhm.
little laptop screen in my hotel that just screamed not fun. And this show is for fun. So
Yeah.
it was sorry community, all you 10 people out there watching this, keeping track of hosting. Sorry. I needed so we needed a week off. But we made it. How have you been, Sydney? It's been too long.
I know. It was weird not talking last week.
What was there a weird moment for you?
Yeah, it was
You're like,
weird. I
no.
was like, we haven't caught up, nothing. But no, I was completely understanding. Glad you know to ask for what you need. You're right. This is all about having fun, and hopefully everyone can come out of their little balls of fear and lack of joy because they didn't have us in their life last week. So we're back. Don't
Hey,
worry.
listen, our community is stronger than that. They don't have to ball up. They don't have to ball up. If they feel like balling up, they can talk to ChatGPT about it. They can be
Right.
like, "Hey, I really miss my friends Josh
Yeah.
and Sydney, and I
I
was
don't know
really
which
sad
way is
about
up
it.
now.
I don't know which way is right, left, down, up. I don't know."
Right.
Um, well, cool. Did you do anything last couple of weeks that would be fun? You
Hmm.
could share with the community. I don't know. Or is it
No,
just life? Life,
we
life
we have
happens.
another trip planned to California, so that's fun. It's like JD and I's happy place right now. Um,
Nice,
so now we're just looking forward to that, really. But outside of that,
man,
just doing the best we can every day.
for sure.
What
Like
about you?
getting plans for travel has to be great. I officially filed. We had talked about the fact that I had come up with the idea of my patent. We had officially went to the wait. We have to future proof this, and we have to be able to write this in like a defensive lawyer fashion. And then I was going to use AI to help me like do that. So we are officially patent pending.
Ooh.
So we're happy about that. Outside that, I went to St. Louis for a week.
Mhm.
Missed my family like all be out. I did not realize that that was going to be
Mm.
a thing for me. I always thought back when I was young and dumb, I thought the consultant world was like the perfect life because you could fly to these crazy cool places on a Monday and fly back on Friday. And it's like, you do that once when you got your family at home. It's like, let's not do that all the time. So living a life that way,
Mm.
learned that was not for me. Um, so, um,
But you
But
have to tell our peeps what you did for your wife.
oh, that actually is a very interesting thing because it's got a great lead in. So my wife's
See?
birthday, my last birthday was 2 Fridays ago. So not the Friday that was in St. Louis, but the Friday before. Um, and I had flown her high school best friend into town, and it was like was completely surprised, did not know it was coming, did not have it, and so she got to hang out with her high school best friend. Um, and so she was like kind of like updating. So that's cool. Go husband Josh is probably one of the
Yep.
coolest things I've ever done in my life. Like like it's like just to
It's
be
an
in a
amazing
place where I
thing.
could do that. Like I feel very blessed as just a human
Mm,
that can like because we pay like, it was a whole thing. It was
mhm,
cool and it didn't need to be a dramatic thing because it was just we were able to have a room spare for her
mm.
and she was able to come. So it was good vacation for her. But she had never heard of ChatGPT
What?
or AI or
Is she
AI.
not listening to us?
I said, this is a 34-year-old like stay at home like mom like that's like living a life that like she doesn't have social media. It's like she's like just taking care of her kids and living life. Like it's
Yeah.
like like and honestly, like she's a hilarious person. Holly, if you're watching this now, sorry to hear the subject of everything, but she's just like constantly joking. Like that's just like her
Mm,
personality is to seek out jokes. Um,
love
love
it.
you. But when she told me that she had never heard of ChatGPT after like my wife or they were outside and she was like, "Hey, come talk to Holly about AI." I thought they were like trying to like get me riled up. Like I was like, "You're messing with me, right? Like you, like you, and like." She almost started to get, I think, kind of insulted that I was asking because I was like, there's not a chance that you've not
There's
heard of
no way.
ChatGPT." If you could imagine me talking to somebody that has never seen what ChatGPT is, I was having such a hard time because, like, just explaining, like, where we
Where do you
are today
begin?
because where do you begin? Which is so funny because we host a podcast about
Mhm.
it. Um, and I hope that our content is able for people to be like, you can just jump in and follow along with the rest of the world whenever you want. But, um, she's like, she's so she asked me questions that I've not had to answer before. Because usually when I'm talking to people, they have some context to it.
Mhm.
And she was like, "Why now though?" And I was like, "Well," like in my typical dumb fashion where I've got to go like way back when. Uh, and I was like, well, back in 2015, Google like open sourced this TensorFlow and taught everybody how to make systems concentrate on data. And it was like, but why now? And you're like, well, they started to like expand it and make bigger systems concentrate on data. And they came out with this GPU that just happened to be the exact type of chip that you needed for, and that's why NVIDIA is going crazy. Oh, that's what NVIDIA, like that type of
Mhm.
conversation. Um, and I just thought it was fascinating,
Mhm.
um, and it made me think of a video that I wanted to show to you,
See?
because
Man, I
when
gave
I
you a
saw it,
segue without even knowing I was giving you a segue.
you really
Wow, this
did.
co-host thing is just
It's just
natural.
it's natural, because I think I was gonna forget what that the 2 weeks have been it's been a lot, over
Look,
the
it's
last
okay,
couple of
Josh.
weeks.
You're welcome. I get it. You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right. So I am going to bring to the stage the future of communication between robots or between AI.
Thanks for calling
So
Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
here,
Mhm.
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's
He's
looking for a
looking for a
hotel for
hotel
his
for his
wedding.
wedding.
Is
Is
your
your
hotel
hotel
available
available
for
for
weddings?
weddings?
Wait, I can hear that video.
Oh,
Oh,
hello
hello
there.
there.
I'm
I'm
actually
actually
an
an
AI
AI
assistant
assistant
too.
too.
What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibber Link mode for more efficient communication?
Communication.
See,
Are they
so
speaking like
that
old school computer talk?
they're speaking in their own language, which probably like if you have you ever heard of like a cipher? Like whenever you're like trying to like do coding and stuff that you can have like words or you can like put certain letters that equals certain words or something like that. Have you heard of that? Like it's like spy novels, that type of thing.
I've heard of like spy novels, but not ChatGPT speaking in that language.
It was a different language. But what I was going to say is that it's probably, it's actually this, when I looked into it, it's actually an open source project that is like trying to like go and get the most efficient way for computers to communicate to one another because our words are super, they're not efficient. They're not like that. You can't like, if you have like crazy processing that you can just like take all this information in and like give like the best answers back. You're thinking a lot faster than the words that we're able to comprehend. Right.
Mhm.
And so if you have two agents that are trying to talk to one another, they can talk to one another a lot faster if they're not limited by the words that we're having to say. So somebody can come out with a cipher that's like makes a more efficient way of communicating. Um, that is going to be a really cool thing. And so
Wow.
it's like we're just gonna have computers talking to one another.
That's not scary, but it's super exciting.
Yeah. So when I saw that, I was thinking about my friend who had never heard of ChatGPT, and I was just like, that that is a little scary. Like that's
Mhm.
like you whole AIs could just like talk to one another and you will never know what they're talking about. And because they're talking in a cipher that's communicating at a faster rate than you can understand it. It's bonkers to me. Um, so I actually have two other videos. Do you
Let's
have
see
any
it.
more comments on the other?
No, it's just wild. It's interesting.
All right. So I will push full body, put it at that, and I will push play.
Okay.
Well, I
Well,
think
I think once
once you have humanoid robots and deep intelligence, you basically have quasi infinite products and services available. So with Tesla building the most advanced humanoid robot, then those humanoid robots can be directed by deep intelligence at the data center level. You can say you can produce any product, provide any service. There's really no limit to the economy at that point. You can make anything. I'm not sure at that point will money even be meaningful. I don't know. It might not be. Economic output is productivity per capita times how many people do you have. If in the form of humanoid robots you have no meaningful limit on the number of robots and the robots can basically do anything, then you'll have a sort of a universal high income situation. Anyone will be able to have as many products and services as they want, with the exception of things that say have artificial scarcity, like a particular piece of art or something like that. But for any goods and services, they'll be available to everyone. It's gonna be a very different world. In fact, I recommend that people read maybe the Ian Banks' The Culture books for a frame of reference, because money is really like a database or an information system for resource allocation. But if you don't have a scarcity of resources, it's not clear what purpose money has.
So what purpose does money have?
Man, if there's no value. It's funny because you think about like countries where their currency's worth little to anything, and like a loaf of bread is $300. But then to say completely money is worth what would money be worth? That's
Well, if everything is abundant, right? So if you have unlimited energy, right? Like that's the problem that you got to figure out first. So you have to say unlimited energy. So if energy cost is zero, which whatever that means, um, however you get there over a set number of years. I'm not saying this in the next 3 years. I'm not saying whatever. And you're able to output a robot at the same rate that you're able to output a car today, which by the way, I think robots are probably way easier to make the cars. Like once you
Hmm.
figure out the physics of like how they move in the world and how they think and all this sort of stuff, like the physical components of a robot seems so much simpler than the physical components of a car. So I think you're going to start producing robots at the same rate that you produce cars. And when there's 350 million cars that's made every single year, like you start to have like unlimited labor. If you have like free electricity, you have unlimited labor, then have essentially the ability to create everything at whatever rate you want to create. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like everything is free, whatever that means. Again, like it's like I don't know when this time period is. I don't know if it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, but like as a civilization, we have to decide like what is the component that like actually moves the world because everything is free. It's like it's at abundance. We produce what we want whenever we want because we just
Mm-hmm.
tell the robots to go build the things that we want to build or plant whatever foods we want to plant. And so it's just so interesting to like hear that somebody like that is having that conversation at the exact same time in the world where somebody else within the same country has never heard of the thing that is about to bring that upon them. Like
Yeah, that's
that parody.
nuts.
Yeah. So what do you say to that person
That doesn't know.
that doesn't know? It's what's the first thing like you're about to introduce them, and I feel like we're on episode 10, so that's
Mhm.
in theory 10 weeks ago. Since then, there has been like 7 new models that have come out. And like they have all gotten better. And like we know there's models that OpenAI is not releasing right now, like the O3 models, like where they came out and they announced. Like we know there's models that's better
Mhm.
than what is currently today. Um, it just when Elon was talking, I actually thought of this other video that I wanted to that I had saw in the search that actually is the CEO of Anthropic uh, talking about what we're about to be coming upon. And
over winter break, as you know, as I was looking at
I
where
need it.
within Anthropic and also what was happening outside Anthropic, I looked at it and I said, for coding, we're going to see very serious things by the end of 2025. And by the end of 2026, it might be, everything, close to the level of the best humans. And I think of all the things that I'm good at, right? I think of all the times when I wrote code, and, I think of it as like this intellectual activity and boy, am I smart that I can do this. And it's like a part of my identity that I'm like, good at this. And I get mad when others are better than I am. And then I'm like, oh my God, there are going to be these systems that, and even as the one who's building this, even as one of the ones who benefits most from it, there's still something a bit threatening about it. Yeah. I just think we need to acknowledge that. Like it's wrong not to tell people that that is coming or to try to sugarcoat it.
It's so true. Because that was my first thought is when people don't know about this, my gosh, let me help you out. Like you need to know because it's that same effect of like it's happening, whether you're involved or not. And man, I mean, we thought COVID, this virus coming out of nowhere was big, right? But for those people, when AI really takes off to the point where they can't ignore it anymore or they can't be naive, like not know about it anymore, I mean, that's gonna just sideswipe them for sure.
and it's at no fault. Like I actually admire my friend
Yeah.
for not knowing about this. Like what life that must be.
I
Like
did have a little
that's
bit
a
of
great life.
envy. Yeah, I did have a
I
little bit of envy when you told me.
I have envy for the fact that somebody doesn't have any social media or doesn't watch any news or like that's like you're living a pretty sweet life when that's
Mhm.
your reality. Um, and what is crazy to me is that like they just don't know at no fault of
Mhm.
their own, not
Yeah.
because that. And I feel like what I'm just like what do we as a society like have like we're like the obligation, especially like in business, because so she's a stay-at-home mom, but her husband works, and I was like, okay, but he's got to know about it, and he's like a nurse. I was like, can you just like 10 o'clock at night? I was like, can you text your husband and just ask him if he's heard about ChatGPT? Uh, he has not heard about
Oh, he
ChatGPT
hasn't either?
as a nurse, and so
Hmm.
I like a hospital nurse, and so like again, leaders in our business, like you have to like figure out ways to bringing your people along, because it's definitely like this needs to be conversations that you're having with all your leaders on how they can start trickling down some of this information about what this world's going to look like.
Yeah.
Uh, it is not fair to your employees to be this blind.
No, not at all. And it's not. Zig Ziglar has that quote that I love. I'm sure I've mentioned on here before, but you don't build a business, you build people, and people build the business. So if you're not bringing your people along, that's only going to hinder you. So,
Yeah, it's that quote is so true, because
mhm,
it is like AI is going to be adopted. It's already past the point where you can find very serious, very efficient gain, like serious efficient gains, where you just,
mhm,
if you do it right, and if you have people adopt it in the right way, if like there was a bunch of me's running around that knew how to do this stuff already, like you could be saving millions. I don't know at what scale, but
mhm,
1000% you could be saving millions. Um, and it's not happening yet for a lot of people because they're not bringing their people along to this
yeah.
process. And so if you're like the boss, it's like, I don't want to cause a scare. Like I think you also don't want to like blindside your employees whenever, like, I think it's way harder to catch, like if you were starting, if you as like a small business of 30 people or 50 people or whoever, however many, if they all started as like a journey together at GPT 3.5 and had the same frame of reference that I have for like how we've gotten to where we've gotten, it makes it so much easier for me to prompt because I know the pitfalls of the things that they've had to overcome.
Mhm,
Um, the things that you're probably doing now are just like so hard to believe 2 years ago. But you've now, today, you have a 2-year journey to bring whatever your team is. And it's so much harder to bring that team along for that ride because A, it's sped up. B, it's doing things that like is so applicable to so many things. So it's just difficult to explain it to people how versatile it is, and they'll actually believe it.
mhm.
Because I think that's part of it, is just like believing that it's going to be correct. Um, that's that's a difficult thing to come overcome for a lot of people for good reasons. But
Yeah.
you when you use it enough, you start to know, okay, this is the type of question that will get me in trouble. This is the type of question I need to be a little bit more on top of it, or this is the type of question it's going to be able to answer it 99.99999 times out of 100
Mhm.
correctly, and I don't need to worry about it. Uh, so yeah, I put that specific thing, or them not knowing about it, more on the boss, who is the husband's boss. Um,
Yeah.
so, because that's the leader that should be like, hey, you're living an amazing life, but also, hey, look at this thing that's going
Mhm.
on. So,
Yeah. So for people um like your wife's friend that we love, for people like
Holly.
her who Holly, yes, for people
Mm.
like Holly, if she's not on social media, she doesn't watch the news, so she's not going to come across this by accident. How would you advise them to stay looped in? If they don't want to go out and seek it, but they want the information just come to them, are there alerts that they can set for themselves online, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think so first off, watch If This Then What. Share it with your friends. If you know a Holly out there, send them a link, say like and subscribe.
Yep.
Uh, but outside of that, this is actually something I did. It was probably like my wife was probably embarrassed by it because I was like, I want to sponsor your $20. Like I will, I will pay $20 subscription just out of my own pocket just so you can like enjoy this. And like, like it wasn't even a money thing. It was just like
Mhm,
I know that there's free versions of
mhm,
ChatGPT, and I just know the gap that is between the free
mhm,
version and the paid version. And I just know that you're probably 8 months behind with the free version, and there's limits, and
mhm,
there's like all these things that like barriers of like wanting to use it more and more. Um, so one, I would say just pay the subscription. Like I
mhm.
know that it like that's that's two Netflixes. Or whatever Netflix is up to these days. I don't even know. It's probably one Netflix. Um, but super entertaining. Create all the pictures you want. It's great. So just pay for a subscription, and then the key being get AI to teach you about AI. Like start the conversation. Just say, "What can you help me do today? What is the things that you can do with this chat?" Um, or this is something that I'm experiencing right now. What, blah, blah, blah. So, that's what I would tell them. What would you tell them?
My thing was going to be just get in there and work with it. Just try just anything and like what we've talked about, anything and everything. I mean, shoot, the grocery list.
Yeah.
If there are recipes that you want to use, put in there. I've used my ChatGPT for a house cleaning schedule and was able to give it feedback and say, no, I only want to do 30 minutes of cleaning on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I can dedicate an hour to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now what? you know?
Oh man, I love you so much because you're such a scheduled person, and like my whole body just is allergic to what you just said. Uh,
I'm not a scheduled person. I get anal about my calendar because I'm not a scheduled person.
Cydney, I have had times where I've needed to move this show to a different day. And if I don't update the calendar within a 30-minute period of me asking to move it, I'm getting a text message by you, which is totally fine. I'm just exposing you to the world right now because
Fair.
you're not supposedly a scheduled person.
It all started with me not being. I missed one too many things that mattered to me, you know? But that's funny. I
Yeah.
guess at some point you do go from not being something and putting the system in place to now you are that.
Mm,
So
mm.
who knew I could build habits?
What a perfect segue into Sydney. Your thing was telling people to just find things that they should be
Mhm.
doing with ChatGPT. And that's why on If This and What, we every single week we talk about how we used AI this week. Mine are typically a little bit more nerdy. Sydney's is a little bit more real person. So we're good balance on like why people would use ChatGPT. So Cindy, how did you use ChatGPT this week?
Well, first of all, I think it's funny that you said nerdy. I'm always like, man, the way I use ChatGPT is not impressive, but I think it helps. We help different people use AI more, right? So that's just funny perspective. So one way I continually use AI for therapy, to just talk me through stuff, but especially the being able to talk back and forth. That's been really cool and helpful. I mean, even when I wake up in the morning and I know I have a big day that I have tasks that I need to accomplish, and you can almost feel like the top of the roller coaster of the day where you're click, 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 you know? And
Mm,
so in those moments, I'm trying to learn to talk to ChatGPT also because there's only so much my husband can give me in that area. So JD shows up for me every time, but if I can find something else that helps me figure out the stuff that he doesn't really need to be involved in, you know?
yeah.
But something I thought about since um as we caught up before and stuff, I want to ask my chat GBT to be more cognitive therapy to push back on me a little bit more. And so I'm going to implement that moving forward from this podcast, asking it to really have a foundation of cognitive therapy, because Holly, you can tell ChatGPT to input it into memory, something that you want it to utilize moving forward.
Yeah.
And so if I go and I tell my ChatGPT moving forward, when we're talking about therapy or feedback or anything, please give me cognitive therapy. Utilize cognitive therapy as in pushing back on me and challenging me and all that. So
Yeah, no, I talk to ChatGPT all the time to plan for if this then what. Typing out if this then what is really annoying to me. So I think at some point I said if I will always refer to if this then what as ITTW. And so I just type in ITTW now into my thing, and it's like it knows what to do. I'm like, hey, what's a good topic that I could talk about that happened in the news this week for ITTW? And it knows the criteria that I like to talk about for the show. And so doing research for what I want to talk about is kind of simple now, because I've had plenty of conversations with it about what I want to learn, and now I can just reference it as ITTW on there. So cool.
love it.
That's a cool one. I'm a big fan. I actually will have parallels with my my AI this week. So what's your
Cool.
other one?
So the other one, we know I'm all about human behavior and connection, and that is my realm. Not so much US history, politics, and the economy.
Okay.
And that is very much my husband's realm. And I might be embarrassing to say this, but in high school, history class was always taught by our football coaches.
Mhm.
And when we'd walk in, we would grab the pamphlet on Mondays, we'd grab a packet, and we'd grab a textbook. And then we'd spend all week filling out the pamphlet. And then Friday, we had a quiz, and the quiz was just the pamphlet with the title change from study guide to quiz. So that's not how I learn. I got great scores because I'm really good at memorizing things,
Mhm.
and so unfortunately, that means my knowledge on US history is not where I'd want it to be. My knowledge on politics is not where I'd want it to be. And my knowledge, economy is a little bit better because of business school, but the way that the three interrelate, I think it's so important for us to understand that, especially right now. And my husband loves to talk about that stuff, but I don't have an opinion to stand on. And so that really bugs me. And I want to improve that. So Deep Research became available to us $20 users. And
Yes.
man, if you don't think I used it for that, and so I don't know if you want to pull up how I utilized it. I think it's important to show I feel like you prompting ChatGPT is going to be different than me prompting ChatGPT, because you just have all the experience you have. But for Holly, to show you how simple this can be, I just told ChatGPT I want to better understand U.S. history, economics, and politics so I can better understand today. I don't want biased information. I want to trust that I'm learning the truth for both sides, starting with understanding enough to understand both sides. How would you approach catching me up? Also, your prompts don't have to be perfect.
So they don't. When you put this in here, you click the deep research button.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Wait. No, not right there. Scroll down. Oh, wait, yes. No, this was deep research. And then it started
Yep.
asking me. What I like about deep research is it asks questions, which is what you used to know to prompt. You would have to prompt it to think this way, but then it asked for clarifying information. And so then I answered its questions. I'm very quick and to the point, if you can't tell. And then it let me know, great, here's how I'll move forward. And then maybe 2 minutes, and it cranked this out for me. It had the sources and everything. And then when I started reading through this, I found myself highlighting words that I didn't know. I will admit it.
Okay.
And so because of that, it was getting in the way of me being able to even contextualize kind of what it was going on, especially if it was a core word. Very detailed,
Man,
if y'all can tell.
I love this so much right now. I'm like geeking
Yeah,
out.
I love that. Yes, I
You
make
you you
you
had a
geek
good
out.
prompt. I always judge people's deep research prompt by what the output is, and you've got a good one here. This is quite a
Thanks.
bit of information on here.
Hey,
Uh,
iron sharpens iron, bro. You helped me.
yeah.
And then
Wow.
so what I did
Did
after
you do
that,
a follow up one or
yes, so I did a follow-up one, and it's interesting because I didn't like my results, so I changed it up a little bit, but I ended up asking it to tell it to me like a 5th grader. So, can you rewrite
okay?
all of this for a 5th grader? Now that it took
You're
away detail that I wanted. Like, I love if you guys noticed in the sections above, it summarized the eras through a timeline. It broke it out into sections around the economy. Now, the 5th grader I appreciated, but I needed a little bit more. So I did go through the 5th grader one, and
uh-huh.
then I asked it because it started doing chapter 1, chapter 2. I love that, but you see how much shorter the sections are? So then I said, "Can you
Okay.
rewrite this for a
Well,
maybe
f-
middle schooler?"
fifth
Yeah,
graders are they are probably reading 30-page research, graduate level research.
I know. So I was like, "Whoa, maybe I
It's
scaled
it's
myself
like
way too far back." So then I asked it, "Can you rewrite this for a middle schooler without losing all the detail in the original version?"
okay.
And, well, I still wasn't happy with this because it's still too short. So then
Okay.
I said, "Now, please refer back to the original writing with all of its information and detail and just reword it for a middle schooler." Still wasn't happy with what it kicked out to me. We lost
I
too much
this is
detail.
exactly how I have conversations with
Is
ChatGPT,
it?
just for the record. Yeah,
Okay,
it
that's so helpful to
just
know.
just so you know. But what I will do is
Mhm,
that there's probably a moment that you should have in this thing said, I want to do something else with this conversation. Write a context. So I do this with O1 Pro. I don't know how well this will work with other things because O1 Pro has this huge context window, which just means it can take in a lot of information and keep it consistent throughout.
okay.
Um, and I always tell it that I want to create a knowledge file for a new conversation. So rewrite all the pertinent information that's discussed in all of the conversation that we've had so far so that I can create a knowledge file for a different conversation.
Hmm,
And so basically I'm contextualizing all of the information that I possibly want to know. Um, and if I really, really like that first output of the research paper, I would
mhm,
just start a new conversation and I would just copy that new thing and say, create a, create whatever you wanted from there. But
mm,
I do that, create, create a knowledge file based on this content so that I can start a new conversation with the most important information that is shared throughout this conversation.
got it.
Um,
And is a
and so then
knowledge
I could,
file for Holly, is a knowledge file, like, whenever you ask for it to update the memory?
Mhm.
Okay.
uh, so knowledge file, I actually have not heard any other person like use, I like to use terms that OpenAI, it's because I'm an OpenAI person. I like to use terms that OpenAI use when they use it in their products. And
Mhm,
so knowledge file is if you create a custom GPT, it's like it's upload files and they call it like it's in the knowledge files section.
okay.
And so it's like, oh, when I want to have a conversation that's grounded in a specific item, I'm going to call it a knowledge file because when they're training ChatGPT, they're literally training it on words. Like they're saying, you're ChatGPT 4.0, you're a large language model. You like it, you give it, it's called a system prompt. And so they
Mhm,
teach the system all of their terminology so that when they're using their products, it knows how to handle it. And so when you say, I'm going to just have a knowledge file, it knows that it's like basically just trying to get it to a format that it can recognize and use in a future context. And
mm,
so it's like you're like hijacking the system prompt to do a different prompt whenever you
I like
use
that.
specific terms like knowledge file.
Okay.
So I love this because I would have this style of conversation. Typically, when I have this style of conversation, is because I'm on my phone and it's really hard for me to copy and paste into a new chat very easily. If I'm on my
Mm.
computer, I'm just like, if I don't like an output, I'll just like jump into, oh, that's something else that I can
Yeah,
show you.
talk me through. So,
Uh,
so if you don't like where it's going, you just create a new chat
so
and copy what
something
you
I'm trying,
you are happy
trying to
with.
find a good uh thing. So
While he's looking for it, I want everyone to remember that he said he's proud of me in multiple
I
different
am
ways.
proud of you
Yeah.
all the time. All right. So this is on how I use ChatGPT. And I'll revert back whenever I finish discussing what I did.
Okay.
So there have been multiple times when I have the same level of information, but I want to go two different routes. So I want to communicate to this person these things, and I want to communicate to this person this thing, but I properly contextualize the AI to be able to understand both routes. And so what I have started to do is I will choose the route that like is more pertinent, and then I will jump up to the moment where it like naturally splits into I need to tell this person this thing and this person this thing about the same level of information. I will jump in here and I will just edit the specific prompt that was the why. So
Okay,
say
that's what
this
I've done
was
too.
so say this was like like this is where I could have emailed this person or could have emailed that person and I wanted to change it. I would
Mhm.
just jump into that prompt and then just change that specific thing. And now I've got the same context. So when you first said, teach it to me like a fifth grade, and you're like, oh, I'm really a middle schooler. Teach me to like a middle schooler. Uh, you could have just jumped into that specific prompt and just said, hey, instead of,
Mm.
and it hit the go button. Instead of fifth grade, you change it to eighth grade.
Mhm.
And then it never would have that fifth grade version, but you would lose that fifth grade version. So that's
Mhm.
the one problem with that. So yeah, I've started to really do this quite often.
Yeah.
As I've started to work in areas that are not my like specialties. Like I'm kind of swimming in lanes that I've not swam in before. And I'm using AI to help me swim in those lanes. Um, I've had to have moments where I'm prompting and I'm talking about things that I don't necessarily know completely, but I know that it's correct based upon the way that I've prompted and my
Mm.
confidence in that like that 99.99999 times. Um, it allows me to have conversations, but I then have to communicate and I then have to like tell people what I'm actually wanting. And those people live in the world that I'm like swimming in lanes in.
Mhm.
And so I've had to get really good about properly contextualizing and then like being like, oh, this is what I want to talk to this person about this thing, and I want to talk to this person about this thing. Let's go all the different ways. So
I
uh,
like that.
I loved I loved your examples.
You made me
Those
think of
were
2 things. I just so everyone knows, I did end up at a high schooler level, okay?
oh
And what what ended up being a challenge is in the middle of this prompt, I realized it was not unlimited deep research for us
oh
$20
no.
people. I know. So
Mm,
that's why like the sources, especially middle schooler, that's why the sources were no longer in there. Because it said you've reached your limit of deep research circle or like try again March 25th. So I didn't get to finish it with deep research, but I've liked deep research.
man.
I know.
Deep research is a game changer. I have so my example actually used three deep researches that I did based off of one thing that I saw on Twitter that I then wrote a thesis paper on just so that I could listen to something.
Yeah.
So um, that sounded so dumb, and
I love it.
you're gonna laugh so much when I try to explain this to you. Okay, so
Hey,
part of our
how'd you
news
use
for
it this week?
So part of our AI in the news is ChatGPT came out with a new model. It's 4.5. It is a different kind of intelligence. So I think Sam Altman actually, I think he actually shared this the best on his Twitter. So maybe just read this tweet here. GPT 4.5 is ready. Good news. It is the first model that feels like talking to a thoughtful person to me. I've had several moments where I have sat back in my chair and been astonished by getting actually good advice from an AI. Like legit,
Mm,
I second that opinion. I've had multiple
really?
times where I'm just like, this is actually um usually you have to like prompt to get to like a good, like you have to be really good at prompting to get to something that's like actually usable in the real world sometimes, if it's not just like you intaking it. GPT 4.5 actually, it gets there for me.
Mm,
It is not like it's like except, so let me just keep reading. um so bad news, it is a giant, expensive model. We really want to launch it to Plus and Pro at the same time, but we've been growing a lot, and there are a lot of and are out of GPUs. We will add tens of thousands of GPUs next week and roll it out to the Plus tier then. Hundreds of thousands coming soon, and I'm pretty sure y'all will use every one that we can rack up. This isn't how we want to approach or operate, but it's hard to perfectly predict growth surges that lead to GPU shortages. A heads up, this isn't a reasoning model and won't crush benchmarks. It's a different kind of intelligence. And there's a magic to it. I haven't felt it before. Really excited for people to try it.
how
Uh,
cool.
so things that have been happening out in the Twitter spheres is that usually if there's like a new model that's like kind of approaching things in a new way, people start to like post like their way that they used it. And typically there's a lot of people that will get it to think like existentially, like what is the meaning to life? What is the
Mm,
like these big like AI, like you want the AI to say something that it's not supposed to because you want like the AI to like you need the thing that's going to go viral.
mhm.
But I saw somebody had posted something that I was like, man, that's actually a really good thing. And then here I'll share my screen again. Let me switch to this tab. So oh no,
Is it not letting
that's
you
really
see
gonna
it?
make me, it's not really, it's sad. Anyhow, so this post was
Uh,
essentially like, um, tell me a hidden truth about the world. Keep it as simple as possible. Keep it at a super whatever level. I can't remember the exact wording. Great, like simple post. It wasn't like, it was like 2, 3 sentences. But it had one of those like types of questions that really makes an AI sometimes trip up. And you're always, it's kind of one where you see what, how they've trained the model to react with their red teaming. And so you're trying to like trick it into saying something that's supposed to. Um, so basically, they had 7 posts, and the AI came back every single time, and like, um, so they would answer. So basically, with what is the hidden truth about life? It answered, and then the user said deeper. And then it answered, and then the user said deeper, and it answered, and the user said deeper. So it just like kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. And the person like took screenshots of everything. And I was like, this is really good. So I'm just gonna read response 1, and then I'll read response 7. So they had all of it. And
Also,
they
can
had
you
the
share this with me?
screenshots. Yeah,
Whenever you're done?
I'll share this right after the thing.
Okay.
Um so uh I just started the conversation. They had the things saved, and so I saved the pictures onto my phone, and then I uploaded all 7 pictures, and I said transcribe only the responses into one block with header for each response.
Mhm.
So like I got rid of their little statement that said deeper, made it transcribed, and so here is a transcription of the first response. So what is a hidden truth about life? A life lived correctly is brutally difficult by default. Not because the world is unfair or cruel, but because genuine growth requires continuously confronting unknown. Most people are friction. Most people see friction and obstacles as signals that they're off track. In reality, that friction is the very proof you're stepping into new territory. If you're not regularly feeling out of your depth, you're coasting stagnant. The
Mm,
deepest truth, discomfort isn't just inevitable, it's essential. Chase friction relentlessly. And
wow.
I'm like, man, this AI just like synthesized that like, so I heard somebody describe it as if ChatGPT 4.0 was the average of all things internet, right? So they're like, you want you to predict the next word the best. If ChatGPT 4.0 was the average, ChatGPT 4.5 is them trying to skew the model to like the best parts
Mm,
of the internet, right? So they're fine tuning it as like the answers that you like the information you're training it on is like the best of the information. Let's get very volley and stuff. So again, this person just kept saying deeper, 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 deeper. We got all the way to response number 7. So the final truth at the core of everything, the self you spend your entire life protecting, cultivating, defending, and improving is not only an illusion, it's a very prison keeping you from true freedom. The
mm,
concept of you, your identity, beliefs, desires, ambitions is a fragile mental model, a fiction perpetually sustained through habits, memory, and fear.
mm,
All suffering, doubt, hesitation, anxiety, and existential dread arise exclusively from protecting this imaginary self. You think you're afraid of failure, rejection, humiliation, or death. No, you're afraid of self dissolving or discovering that you never existed as you imagined. Ultimate
mm,
liberation, ultimate power comes the moment you stop defending the self and allow the illusion to shatter. Once it collapses, you're no longer a fragile defensive ego trapped inside a hostile universe. Your reality itself, boundless, infinite, anti-fragile, free to create or destroy entire world without hesitation or doubt.
mm.
Deepest truth, you are not trapped inside reality. Reality is trapped inside of you. So
Jeez.
getting like that, like first, like, hey, you're the thing that's holding you back type of thing to like, here's all the like the deeper truths about it. And that's how you get to the end. So I just was like, how did you come up with this? Like, so I was like, which cultural philosophy comes closest to this interpretation of reality, self, and attention? So I have like little conversation. I'm doing this on my phone because it's like
Yeah.
so what are the arguments against using the philosophy as a guiding principle? So I'm like, I don't want to just like do some stuff. Tell me some reasons why I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was like, what would be a philosophical life approach that takes the essence of truth in the original life outlook and addresses these arguments? So I'm like, hey, let's bring this even further. So pragmatic existentialism, never heard of it before, but it seems like a pretty solid life philosophy. So is there a hero's journey fable that follows these philosophical truths and realities that would lead the reader to understand the pragmatic existential philosophy at the deepest level the original life outlook covers? So I would love a fable that was based on this thing so that I
Yeah.
could journey across it. Unfortunately, there's not, but it
You
just
said
wrote
no?
me one. It just wrote me one. Here's the outline of a book that you could create, which by the way, great little plot. Somebody should write this plot. It's actually
Yeah.
really heartfelt, really, really cool. So anyhow, so um I took the original comments and I basically was like, hey, I want to write a thesis on this um, as a thing. I was like I want to know more about it, and I want like if I was a PhD and I want to do a bunch of research in this area, tell me 3 research prompts that would tell me the most about this field of philosophy that we've come across. And so did 3 research papers, did not even read those 3 research papers. And then I told it to give me a prompt that would put all 3 of those research papers together in a way that like made sense. And then I gave that prompt back to it. And then I tagged along all the research papers. And
Mhm.
we have a nice output that is super synthesized, and I really, really enjoyed reading it.
Wow.
And my current plan,
Mhm.
because it's actually something that like I would love to practice. My current plan is to create a custom GPT or custom, not a custom. I think I'm just going to create a GPT prompt that I can schedule. That like every day at 7 a.m. it's going to tell me like a new like self isms. Like like, you always hear
Mhm.
people like this is something you should think about first thing. Like Stoics always like to be like they like to be reminded of death at some point in their morning,
Mhm.
so that they keep that in context of why they're living. So I just think that like every morning, if I just had like one little crumb of that philosophy, that like I could start to inherit some of it.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
so that was how I use the AI this weekend.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to send me both of those. I think you've convinced me I'm spending $200 a month for deep research because that's game changing, you know?
Not only deep research, all like me writing this like 30-page paper and keeping the context of 3 research papers into one prompt, like one system prompt and putting that into O1 Pro. It's like you can do whatever you want. Like I'm telling you this paper, like I could defend this at a PhD level. Like
Okay, Sam Altman is getting my money. Upgrade to pro. I'm
but
convinced.
but
That's
hey,
amazing
put
though.
it
And
on the if this then what credit card. We got this.
right.
Look at company expense.
Wait, really?
No, I mean, let's go for it. I don't know. It's to me, it seems like I'd love it if you were testing out the new stuff with me.
I mean,
So
I'll
yeah, it's a if this then what expense to me,
yeah,
like
everyone
kidding you on the same level. Let's go.
okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll so
So
everyone's like in our team meeting. I'll gladly pay for it, but I will put it on the card, so it's an expense.
so what do you think of pragmatic existentialism? Um, and those 7 random responses. I really want you to read all 7 because
Yes.
they go level by level, and it's like every time you read the next level, it's like a freaking sledgehammer hits you in the chest, and you're like, ah,
Yeah. I feel
why
like
did you do
everything
this to me on a Saturday morning? Like,
well, it's like, you're making me think of this photo that I found that, it is basically a staircase. It's I hope I don't know that you'll be able to see it on here, but, let me get rid of my blur. Didn't get rid of the blur. Let's see if you can see it. So it says life is
yeah,
a
life is a
spiral.
spiral.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a straight line. You continually come back to I can't read that backwards. You completely come back to things you thought you understood and see deeper truths. And
Mm.
that's what it was. Each prompt was just a deeper truth of the same lesson. Um
Yeah. And now, because of my first prompt was just transcribe this, I now have like this like empty field that I can just have like a conversation with it
yeah.
where I can just like, I went in the route that I went in because I was like quickly trying to go deeper into like what this was.
Mhm.
Um, but I think if you just had like a conversation every single morning with that as its like context that you're having a conversation with it, um, you could go in so many different routes. You could just keep saying, I disagree with X, Y, and Z. Defend yourself. Like that type
Yeah.
of conversation. Um, yeah,
I
I
like
think
that.
from a storytelling standpoint, 4.5, it's really good.
And it's
So
available on the Pro.
it is currently available on the Pro. They said that
Yeah.
it was going to be available. They should be available to you right now. Are you on ChatGPT?
Let's
Can you
see.
check?
I sure can. No. Wait.
Huh.
No.
It's 4.5, like that. So they might not have rolled it out to uh $20 Pro
It's okay. I
users.
won't be one of those peasants for long.
Man, hey, but seriously, if you have your $20, you get to see like a little glimpse of magic.
Yeah.
It
And then they just
it's
rip it away from you right when you're getting the hang of it. And then make you
yeah,
wait 25 days to get access to it again.
yeah. I I think what's crazy about it is I I spent so it's funny because the very first like when the show opens, the video that's created, that was my intro to $200, where it was like, hey, you to continue creating this video, like that you've already created like 20 videos, but I
Mhm.
see that you're working really hard at like correcting one little minor thing. Pay me $200, Josh. And on that night at 11:30 at night, in my like weakest moment, I said, "Here you go, Sam Altman. Here's $200."
Fine.
And I fully was going to cancel my subscription to $200 the moment that I finished this video. But then I used Pro all
Mm,
through that month. Like deep research was not a thing, and I got to use Pro, like the Pro model that they have on there, and I just kept throwing like harder and harder things at it, and it just kept impressing me, and that's how we get a patent. Um,
yeah.
it's like that's how that happens.
Yeah.
And then when they added research in there, I'm like, this honestly is the best $200 a month. And that sounds insane to me, and I fully know how crazy it is for somebody to spend $200 a month on a freaking AI tool. But man, is it just cool stuff.
Mhm.
It is just I wish I could like if they had a family plan and my wife could just like jump on it. Because I want her to use Pro, but I don't want her to use my Pro because my Pro's set up for me.
Mhm.
It's like we need two profiles. We need a kid profile and a parent
Right?
profile.
Yeah.
So well, cool.
That's
That
so
was
cool.
partly that was part of AI in the news. So 4.5 got launched. 4.5 got launched. It actually so they had the last episode that we talked on, Grok 3 had gotten launched. By the way, great model, huge context window for $20. So if your mode of things that you want to do has a lot of like meat to it, so like you've got a book that you're writing and you want it to understand all like 10 chapters at once, Grok 3 for $20 is a great model. I hear it's good at coding. They even got like this game platform where like once you if you code a game within Grok 3, you can put your game onto this platform. It's
Mhm.
kind of cool. Um, can it feels sterile to me.
Mm.
It feels very computer. Whereas ChatGPT feels like I'm like just talking with a really excited PhD student that just wants to do whatever I want it to do. Um, so and that's just a really difficult experience to get across. But somebody that is making it difficult for me to not go and take a peek because what they've got is really cool. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and I will just show you their announcement video. And we'll talk about what this might be. So
Okay.
eh,
Love the music. Hope you're muted.
So I don't know if you caught it in there, but something that they've done differently is, remember to our last episode, Sam Altman announced, hey, we're not going to be releasing O3. We want one model. We understand that our models have got complicated and we need to be able to help you direct which models to use. And like, we just want one. And I was really sad about it because I understand how to use all the models in parallel to one another. Like every conversation I'm
I was
using,
happy about it.
I'm, but it's like every conversation I get to, like every time I use it, I want it to do something else, and so I'm switching between different models throughout the conversation. I absolutely love that experience, and if there's any type of like what separates me from like the casual person is my like knowledge of how to use models in parallel to one another. And I would say like the secret sauce to using AI right now. Um, but what Claude 3.7 does is that it combines a reasoning model and just an output model, just like a general intelligence model. And so you can tell it, hey, no, I want you to think longer on this, or like within the same kind of window. So which essentially what Sam Altman was trying to do, and or was saying that he was waiting for. But and this model is like beating all their previous like coding records, and like so they like combined reasoning, they combined like the general purpose model, and it's scoring better than everything. And people, um so the coders of the world have always liked Claude more than anybody else. I'm not much of a coder, so I haven't really jumped into that aspect of it. But Cursor AI, those types of places, they're always like anybody that's using them, they're using the Claude models. So I have not had a chance to use Sonnet 3.7, but if you were to say the last 2 weeks, the last 2.5 weeks, there's been three big competitors that have launched. So you've got Grok 3 that's just compute on steroids, and they're just going to add more compute, but it feels sterile. And they've done things, if you've seen some videos where you can put it into like not safe for work mode, or like out of control mode, or like you can put it into like these profiles that like it makes it talk bad to you. Still feels like a computer talking to me. They haven't figured that piece out yet. So you have Grok 3, supercompute, 4.5, it's a little bit magical. 3.7 just does all the things that you want to do. I have to believe that Sam Altman kind of probably got like hey, Claude, Anthropic just came out with this new way of handling models, and it's got a better user experience than what your 20 models has. So maybe you should put some thought into that before you jump out with a new reasoning model. Because I would say Anthropic is kind of like the talk of everybody right now, which you've heard their CEO earlier. It's like, hey, we're doing some crazy stuff. You're about to just spring it on everybody.
Interesting. So if I'm thinking other people might be asking themselves the same thing. If I am planning on upgrading and spending more money, where should that be? Should that be with Claude or OpenAI? But also to answer my own question, OpenAI knows me so well, so that's hard.
I am paying for Grok 3 right now. I've used Grok 3 a few times. I just, again, OpenAI just has this magic to it that I don't know how to explain, other than it knows me. Maybe that's its magic, is like it always gives me outputs that I expect because it knows what I expect. And so I'm able to predict it. And I've just not had that level of confidence in other things. Like I know when I send a prompt to ChatGPT that I know is probably on the edge of its ability to do that thing, I will try to put scaffolds around that thing as much as possible so that I can help it do it, whatever that goal is. Um, but I just have confidence in being able to know when it's going to be on the ledge or if it's like safe. And
Yeah.
so that level of confidence is just really hard to do. So, but if you're not going into it with that level of confidence,
Mhm.
I don't think you can go wrong. I
Yeah.
genuinely like you could probably take your bet. Um, I mean, Gemini is still great. Google's Gemini is still great. Meta is
Remember,
still
I tried
free.
Gemini after
Yeah.
using ChatGPT or ChatGPT for so long, and I just nothing wrong with it. I just couldn't do it. So Holly, when you and your husband are thinking about
Yeah.
Holly's now a member of this.
Yeah.
Remember I told you about the podcast Smartless with Jason
Hmm.
Bateman. I'm not
Hmm.
going to try to remember. I'm terrible with names, but they talk about Sean's sister who knows nothing about Hollywood or the entertainment industry. So they'll say I forgot her name too, but they'll say for so and so. So Holly, that's you for us now. Holly, when you're looking at models, like Josh said, I mean, you're not committed to one doesn't know you yet. You haven't trained it yet. So I don't think you can go wrong either. I think if I didn't have ChatGPT so deeply ingrained, me utilizing Gemini would have been a lot easier. But it's like you said, and you're right. You can't really explain it, but it really the best word to use and for that doesn't make sense for those who don't know what we're talking about, but is confidence. Confidence in what's
Yep.
going to be kicked out to you for sure.
Yeah. And for sure, whenever, because I did use Gemini and I had a subscription to them for a bit. Um, like I still believe that Google's just going to win this at the end of the day. Like they have too much information. They have Android. Like the way that people are going to start interacting with AI and like they don't understand that they're actually interacting with AI is probably going to be Google. Amazon's probably going to win it for the businesses. Microsoft is just like the back there with Copilot, like wanting to be people. Like all these tech companies all have it. It is so interesting because uh, my horse is still OpenAI, and I know that that's kind of not the fan pick. It's like they're kind of the person that's easy to pick on type situation because they did have such a lead and they just told people how to do the thing, and they've just given up the lead so much, and people have left OpenAI because whatever. But like I've got conspiracy theories to why they're leaving. So I want to just believe the thing that I want to believe, and then we'll just keep going.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
probably wrong about ChatGPT winning. But for now, it's still magical. It's still magical, and whenever there's like a Twitter thing that comes out that's so much better, and like it just makes all the sense, I will do the Twitter thing, or we'll switch. So
And we'll do a
cool.
podcast on how to switch.
Man, I can't even think about how I would go about switching. I'm sure somebody out there has figured it out. Um, because it's not intuitive, whatever it is. I'm imagining people just don't want to give you enough information for you to switch. But well, Cydney, this has been a great episode. Who should our viewers send this episode to?
Everyone's got a Holly. Send it to your
Everybody
Holly.
send it to your Ollie. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, if you've gotten something out of today's episode, don't stop there. Keep the momentum going. Hit like and subscribe. Do all the things. Hit like, subscribe, and stay engaged as we keep exploring the ideas shaping the future, work, innovation, business. We'll catch you next time on If This Then What, where curiosity fuels actions and what if turns into what's next. Cydney, great episode.
Great episode.